Hello, everyone. I am a little late. I appreciate you waiting for me. I know. You literally had stopped everything. Everything. You're like, I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to wait for Vanessa to go live. So I appreciate you pausing your entire life to wait for me to go live. I know that that's difficult. Hello and good morning. Let me just double check to make sure that we are playing on all the things that we want to be playing on. So I'm going to go to my feed and just sort of hit that to see where. Perfect. Okay, so like my feed is there. That's live and working. Let's see what's happening here. I just heard myself there, so that's good. And then let's move it. And YouTube does a weird thing. Perfect. Oh my God, it's like that reminds me of noises off when everybody's doing like the same thing over and over again. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. So, I'm excited for today. We have a few things going on. Next week, I believe, is we're going to be leaving soon, all of us, for AM 66, which is going to be really, really fun. I'm sending out some emails today. Some of you may be getting them. So one of the things that I like to do, and this is something Nkura has set up, it's absolutely fabulous, is when you when you are a new attendee to AM 66, what they do is they'll pair you up with someone like, like someone who's been there before to send you an email and say, hi, what's going on? And I love being that new person who like meets, I'm trying to get there's a little thing back here that's supporting my back and it kind of fell down. Okay. There we go. All right. We did it. There we go. Fixed. Okay. So I send you basically, they give you the opportunity. You meet up with new people, so you get a list of like 7 or 8 new people who are haven't been to AM 66 before. You having been someone who's in AM 66, you then you send emails to them basically saying, hi, my name is this is what I've been to, this is what I've learned, here's some great dates for you, events that you may want to attend. And what's great about it is Audrey like puts together like a list, like she writes the email for you, and then you can take that email and and then adapt it and then send it out. And it's a great way because then someone who hasn't been to Nkura before isn't quite so overwhelmed. And then they kind of know what it is that they want to do when they get there. It gives them orientation, so on. So I really like to do that. If that is something that you are interested in doing, then keep an eye out because they do this for FRA, they do it for PRA, they do it for AM, the annual meeting. So what you want to do is you want to wait till you get the email from Audrey or from Nkura. I can't remember who it actually comes from. Like if it's like Audrey who sends it, or like the main Nkura channel. Nkura group. But you get an email that basically says, hey, volunteer, right? If you don't get the email, you could actually go to sorry, I'm having a little bit of breath problems today. You go into the Nkura website for the event, and under volunteer opportunities, it gives you a bunch of options, and one of the options is like, I think it's called being like a greeter, or there's a word for it, but it's at the very top. And it's like, hey, I wonder if I've seen you. This is how you volunteer to greet new people and invite new people into Nkura AM 66. So keep that eye out if that's something you're interested in. It's a really fun thing to do, and I think especially for those of us who've been to conferences and we remember. I mean, all of us remember our first time, right? Whew. My first time was with was it SRA? I think. I don't think Nkura was my first. I feel like SRA was my first, but I don't know. Anyway, so that's what I would recommend for that. So, anyway, and those emails are coming out from me today. So that's really exciting. I have a lot of things that I need to do today, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, sort of like last week, why I wasn't here, and it's not really has anything to do with me, why I wasn't here. I mean, it does, but the reason I want to tell you this is actually because of how it may resonate with some of you. One of the challenges that Ali and I talk about that exists, I think, for all of us living in the world that we live in today is that it is not designed for people who are living full and complete lives outside of the workplace. But more importantly than that, it is not designed for people who have chronic illness, are caregivers for people with chronic illness, suffer from mental illness. So I have ADHD, I'm autistic, I have anxiety, I have PTSD. I grew up in Pakistan in the 80s. It was very, very, very violent. I have a lot of PTSD in my life. Um, I also have many chronic conditions that I've high blood pressure, which has just been really, really bad lately. Chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic migraine, fibromyalgia. So there's like a long list. Now, the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because I have to exist in the same world that someone who has none of those things has to exist in. And for that person, they will have different barriers associated with their lives. Because, like, just because you don't have chronic illness or these things doesn't mean you haven't had a difficult life and haven't had to deal with shit, right? Like, it's fair. But the challenges you have to face are going to be very different from the challenges that I have to face. And most of my community is chronically ill individuals who are limited in mobility, or spoons, as we call them. So if you're not familiar with spoon theory, it's a convenient way of measuring your energy, in that, because when you are chronically ill, your energy is extremely limited. It's like it literally is like finite, like a bank account. And again, we all have finite energy, of course, but it's a little excessive when you have chronic illness. And so you have to gauge everything in your whole day and how you're going to deal with your day based off of the number of spoons you have when you wake up in the morning, right? And so I wake up in the morning and let's say I have 10 spoons. And each activity takes a different amount of spoons, and some activities take more spoons in a day than others. So for example, one of my friends, she for her, getting up in the morning and going to get to the shower and taking a shower takes up probably 25% of her spoons in a day. So she has to make a decision about whether or not a shower is worth the effort on any given day, which is not a decision that most other people will have to make. Many other people don't have to make that decision, right? They just get up, they take the shower, they do their thing, and then they're moving off into the world and life is just happening. But for someone to lose 25% of their energy in that activity that we consider to be fairly straightforward, they now have less spoons to be able to devote to doing their jobs. Okay, so this is where it starts to come down into like our real lives for many of us. So now you have someone who is chronically ill, who has to decide, okay, am I going to shower or am I going to work? They decide they're going to work, but they still only have a limited amount of spoons. And so for them, it's important to have control over their day, control over how their energy flows, control over what the things are that they do, and so on and so forth, right? You also don't know, and so that is very important. And many people, before, there was a conversation about, well, and this is what used to be the language. The language used to be that the way, so if you can't hack it in corporate America and do all those things, then maybe this isn't the job for you, right? What we're finding now is that because of the excessive responsibilities and requirements and oh Jesus, I see Scarlett. Hi Scarlett, good morning. Because of the excessive requirements that we see for people just working day to day, people are getting burned out, they're getting drained, and they too are now starting to have spoon theory issues, where by 2 p.m. you're just so exhausted, you're like, I just can't do anything right now. And like the question becomes, I don't understand what's happening. This is like, I used to be able to work all day long, I used to be able to do whatever, but now suddenly I'm getting tired at random moments of the day, or I'm finding that I can't hold on to thoughts, or I'm finding that, and these are the symptoms of you losing spoons faster than you realize you're losing them, so that by the end of the day, it's like you've got time to cook, if you have time or energy to cook at all, and then just sit there and watch TV and just zone out until the next morning. Burnout is so real. Burnout is absolutely real. And so these same issues that are very familiar to those of us who have been chronically ill for most of our lives, or who are in chronically ill communities or mentally ill or whatever it is, are very common. And they're becoming more and more and more common as burnout, as Scarlett said, as burnout starts to like feed in and create more chronic conditions for more people, right? I'm starting to see that there are people who I knew before did not have chronic conditions because they said so, now coming to me, and we're having conversations over lunch, over dinner, and they're describing the symptoms of these conditions that I've been seeing most of my life with my community, and recognizing that this excessive pressure on our bodies, on our minds, on our souls is having an outsized impact on our health. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I have gone, shit, where's my book? There it is. Let me get the book. So this is not a new problem, right? Like, I mean, burnout is something we're all talking about a lot, but it's the challenge really comes with, okay, I accept that I'm burned out and I accept that I'm feeling terrible and bad and whatnot. What do I do about it? How do I operationalize this to where I feel like it is okay for me to set boundaries around my time, and like I am not somehow failing as a human being or failing as a worker or failing as anything, right? No one wants to feel like a failure. But when you don't give it your all at work, you feel like I'm not committed. People are going to think I don't care. It starts to, there are pre-written stories and scripts for us to fall into that tell us how inadequate we are if we need to set these boundaries because other people are doing it. There seems to be doing fine under all of this work. They're not, by the way. They're not. They're just keeping it under wraps just like everyone else is. So for me, I first encountered this about 5 or 6 years ago as a part of another initiative that I was in, and I was doing some work around decolonizing the workplace, right? And specifically what that means is defetishizing hustle culture and overwork and burnout and constantly being busy, right? We have this obsession, like, oh my God. And that's why I use the word fetishize, because like it is like an obsession, an addiction to how much can I produce? How much can I show off about how busy I am and how many meetings I have and how important I am? And all of this is conditioning from we all remember how this happened. Nobody needs me to tell you the story of how it happened. However, I wanted to share this tool with you. So this book, Laziness Does Not Exist, this is the book that actually helped to set the framework for me. There were two things that actually did it. One is Toy Smith. She is my one of my decolonization coaches, and she specifically helps me with capitalization. Not capitalization. She tells me how to capitalize words. So I need to learn how to capitalize words better, and she teaches me that. No, I actually have a coach for that too. So not to capitalize words. We'll come back to that. So she is capitalism. So I hired her to help me decapitalize, and then I have another coach to help me decolonize. And so and all of those are about letting go of these ideas of having to work all the time and so on and so forth, because, and this is where me not coming in last week and me being a little late today comes in. Like I said, I gave you my list of all of my conditions, and I fell into a deep, deep, deep depression. Physically, my body was not in good shape. My blood pressure has been very, very, very high of late. I can feel it, and when my blood pressure is very high, I can feel it in my back. I can feel it in my feet. I can feel it in other places. It's hard to concentrate. I can't focus. And you add that to the fact that I have depression and other things, it just all started to kind of like come at once. And the thing is, that's normal for someone who has depression. My family, my community, my friends, people struggle with this kind of thing. And oftentimes we have to struggle with this while also showing up at work, while also being a productive member of society. When I was growing up, my mom, so we lived in Pakistan, so it was very different. And my mom had the ability to simply take medication and just sleep, right? And so my mom slept for most of my life. Syra and she was wonderful. I love her dearly, but she slept for most of my life. And that was because when I think about it, she didn't have the tools that I have now, right? And so what I wanted to just sort of talk about today specifically about this is that if any of this resonates with you and you feel like, I don't know how to get out of this, know that there are pathways out, and that there was a time in my life where when I had these experiences, I actually didn't know how to get out. And I remember clawing my way up, and it was very difficult and it was painful. And from that first intentional growth out in April of 2018 came the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast, because I realized that I wasn't the only person who was going through this, and I wanted to pull together all of the different people that I talked to who helped me to see the world in a different way that helps create that pathway out when you are not feeling great. Not just emotionally, because obviously there is that component of like your perspective and the work that you're doing and how you feel about yourself and all of those things, right? Are you exercising? Are you taking your medicine? Are you on the right medication? Like there's all of those things as well. But there's also the component of, I physically don't feel good. How do I exist in this world? Or I am a caregiver for someone and that takes up a lot of my time, energy, and attention. How do I take care of myself so that I feel like I'm important as well, and so that my life doesn't become all about caregiving for someone else, which I have done that as well, right? So what was really, really great about the last couple of weeks, even though the last couple of weeks were very difficult for me, is that one, I knew what I needed to do, which was whatever I could put a pause on, I did. So if you find yourself in the middle of a flare, because like sometimes one of the things can happen, and this is what happened for me, it wasn't just depression, I had a physical flare at the same time. So now I have a physical flare that is like my body's out of control, and I have an emotional thing going on, right? How do you manage both of those things together? First things first, you have to stabilize your physical, right? You have to know what your tools are. Reach out to your therapist, reach out to your friends. They are there to help you. It is okay for you to take time to rest and give yourself an opportunity to cuddle up with your blanket and sort of just sit there. Listen to things that are positive for you. I found that meditation and hypnotist videos were like really, really helpful to bring me down, not just because there's the depression, but because it becomes a cycle, right? So those are really important things. Reaching out to your friends, your therapist, if you have coaches. If you do not have coaches, you can always email me. I have spent the last 5 years creating a library of coaches, not all of whom I still use, right? Like some you go in for just a little bit, you see them twice or thrice, they help you with something. And like Toy, I saw once. So I saw Toy once for an hour, and she sat with me. I did a course with her for $187, which I immediately said to her, listen, this course is worth way more than $187. And now it's a mastermind. It was a brilliant, oh my God, brilliant course. But I did that course with her, and then I did one session, and that was honestly more than enough. That was 3 years ago, and it still is bearing fruit. Other people, like my decolonization coach with AJ, he and I see each other weekly, and because he is Desi as well, and he has also him and I have like the weirdly similar life path in terms of because of our shared heritage, our shared culture, our shared queerness, just very similar. He's a great mentor to me, and he's also a yoga teacher. And when I say he's also a yoga teacher, I don't mean a yoga teacher like, where you sit and, do the positions and whatnot, but more in the terms of yogic philosophies and like how do you incorporate that into your life as almost like your framework for how to live. So having those tools and people who've already walked the path before can be very, very reassuring. And then the last thing that I really want to suggest is this. One of the biggest challenges that comes back to the fact that we all have to live in a neurotypical world, in a world that is designed for productivity, where it does not reward time off. And in fact, people are afraid to take time off. And they're afraid to say when they're not feeling good. They're afraid to say if they have a chronic illness. One of the questions that I got asked the other day, so this is not uncommon, I get this asked quite a bit, is I am going for a job interview. Can I disclose? Should I disclose? I'm going to come back to you, Scarlett, for sure. Should I disclose that I have whatever, right? And this is a very real question for people. Organizations think that they're being so open by saying we are equal opportunity and we accept all races and we accept genders and we accept neurotypical and neurodiverse and chronically ill, and we accept everybody. They've got that great statement. And the individual people who put that statement up there and who are doing the hiring, they also have the best of intentions. But there is a gross discrepancy and disparity between the intention and the training that people are given and the deconditioning that people are given to actually support these people once they are on. So your willingness to hire someone is great, but if you haven't done the cultural competency work to be able to understand how to manage these people, so you now have a manager who still is living in the 80s and has a very antiquated view of calendars, hours, your responsibility to the company, what you're supposed to sacrifice, how you're supposed to be, like, that you are literally supposed to kill yourself for the company. So let's say that is the mindset of the manager that is hiring. Even if that manager says, I love you because you're neurodivergent, they are still going to be doing harm to that employee by pushing that kind of thing on them, where that employee is now never going to feel like they are enough. They're never going to be able to achieve enough. Anytime they get sick, they're going to hide it from you. So now you have done the work of hiring. Your intentions are there. You're a good person, but you don't have the competencies. You haven't been taught or educated or deconditioned in any way to provide a supportive environment for this person. So it is not enough to simply have that statement and to have your ERG groups if you don't also have managers who are competently trained about how to engage with different types of people, right? And that requires work. Like, why do you think I have the coaches? It's because it's really hard work. I don't understand the experience of someone who has not ever been able to walk. I don't. I need them to tell me what their experience is. Then I need to go learn, how can I support this person? What are the things that are getting in this person's way? And then it is my onus as a manager to figure out how to deal with this, right? I need to go out and learn about what on my own, because it's not on the employee to tell you about this, right? Like if I have friends, they tell me, but it's not for me to go to my employee and say, tell me about your life experience. It's on me to go and find there's actually a really great place in, UMass, oh my God. It is, hold on, I'm going to give it because it's like really, really good. Yes, I think it is. I cannot find the name right now, but I will. And this is annoying because I actually really like Work Without Limits. Work Without Limits. That's what it is. Work Without Limits with UMass. So Work Without Limits is a really, really great organization to go to if you have someone with disability in your environment, and you can learn how to support them, right? Take that step. If you have someone who is neurodivergent, if you have someone who is Black, if you have someone who is brown, if you have someone who is trans, go and learn and understand their experience so that you can see where they are coming from. Not from them, because if they want to share with you, that's great, but as the manager, right? And then that sets up the environment where you can make them feel welcomed and like they're supported, and not like the workplace that they live in is literally a spoon-sucking factory. Scarlett mentioned here, thank you so much. You said that you love this advice and it took you years to realize that you needed to find coaches. Me too. I was a part of this leadership program when I was in corporate America years ago called the Partnership Inc. And they're in New England, and it's specifically for people of color. And I applied, I got in, and I had to this point, I had never even thought, I didn't understand coaches or what they were or whatever. And there was a woman, and her name is Judy Shen Fillerman, and she got on stage and was talking about Myers-Briggs. And like I don't really do the Myers-Briggs thing anymore, but like at the time, it was the first time I had heard of a framework to recognize, like, here is your personality type in terms of how you engage with people and how you manage people and how you do this and so on. I just never thought of something in that perspective before. I had only ever really thought about leadership styles in terms of autocratic and dictatorship and that kind of thing. So this was a very new idea for me. And she said she was a coach, and I looked her up online, and I still didn't really understand what it was that she did, right, as a coach. And I remember thinking to myself, the impact this woman had on me, I want to have on other people. But at that time, I remember thinking to myself, this is never going to be possible. This is never a thing that I can do. But there's a whole list of stories, right? Just the other day, like, I haven't thought of this woman other than just to, like, occasionally I'll think of her and be like, oh, she had such a great impact on me. But like, it's just in passing. Randomly out of nowhere, this is how you know that, like, social media is listening to your brain. A post from her shows up on my LinkedIn feed, and it was actually about believing in yourself and this, that, the other thing. And so I commented on it and I told her the story and I said, listen, 13 years ago, I watched you on stage and the impact you had on me, I wanted to have on other people. And I had no idea how I was going to do that. But now here I am 13 years later doing that thing, right? I'm doing the thing that I said I wanted to do. And she set me on that path. And it was nice to be able to tell her that. But so that's how I learned about what coaches were. I would argue that it was another 5 years before I started to understand the nature of coaching. And so the few things that I realized were really important to recognize with coaches is, one, anyone can call themselves a coach. Literally anybody can call themselves a coach. So it's important to really find someone that you connect with, and that's someone who you can like get a referral to, someone that you can demonstrate that they've seen success. There are coaches who are really more of cults of personality where they're not they are coaches, but it's more about the person than it is about the activity itself. So if you look up Marie Forleo, you'll see that that's someone who's like that. Like Marie Forleo is like, oh, Marie Forleo, right? Like, I mean, I don't actually think that about her, but it's more about being Marie, right? Than it is about, I learned from Marie, right? As opposed to that kind of thing. And so it's easy, I think, to get sucked up into that kind of thing. I prefer personally to work with coaches who are more specific for me. So what you're looking for is a coach who can specifically say, this is exactly what I help you with. If they are using broad language like, I know that you feel lost in this world and that I can help you find your focus and that kind of thing, they're not going to be specific enough to help you solve your problem. Like the key is knowing. So like I knew my specific problem, say one of the first coaches I had, was my money mindset. So I was looking specifically for a money mindset coach. I at some point was like, I have a lust for making money to the point where this is really unhealthy, and I was making all the money. So like, it's not like I wasn't making it. I was making it, but it was never going to be enough. This was 3 years ago, and that's when I shut down my whole business. I've told that story on other casts before. But I just realized that I was never going to be happy as long as I was chasing the dollar, and I had to figure out a different way of doing something. So if I really believed that I was able to make money anyway, then I needed to just shut things down. So I was then specifically looking for a coach to help me disconnect success from making all of the money. And not just making it and holding on to it like a Jeff Bezos style, right? Hey, Kelly, good to see you. So, where was I going with that? I was going somewhere with that. I lost my track. It's fine. Doesn't matter. What were we talking about? This is ADHD moments you're seeing. Coaches. Okay. So finding coaches that are specific to what you're looking for, that will help you as well. So if you're looking for your own coaches, those are the two things that I recommend. Oh, the other thing that I also recommend is there's a couple of different ways of doing this. So I think that it's very valuable to have a community in which you are hanging out with like-minded people who are all in the same direction and so on and so forth. So like I have my own Patreon community for that. And the purpose of that is really just to share information and so on, to gather people together. But there is, and this is, I always warn people about, I warn people about this anyway, just 'cause I think it's important to be aware, is that coaches make money off of people who pay them, right? And that's one of the reasons why I actually wanted to get out of the game, is because there's a vested interest in keeping someone paying you, right? So that they constantly need to learn and so on. So you've got to constantly be thinking of other things they need to learn. And nobody's doing this maliciously, because there's always something to learn, right? But two things happen. One is that really kind of, what's the word? I don't know the word in English. It's called pika in Urdu. It's waters down. It really waters down the focus of what the coach is able to help you with, right? Because they're getting so broad. And I've seen this happen with many coaches where they'll start with one. I'm a money mindset coach. But then there was, well, I can also help with this, and I can help with this, and I can help with this. And now I'm going to be able to help you with everything. So come join my group, pay me all this money so that I can help you with 80 different things. Eventually those groups tend to die out. They tend to struggle because of a lack of focus. So and that's why it's important for anyone who's looking for a coach to be specific about what type of coach you're looking for, right? And I'm happy to help you with this. I do one type of coaching, research administration. That's it, right? If you're a research administrator, I can coach you. If you're not, I can't. The end. And it's not that I can't, it's that I don't want to. I've actually already coached in many different modalities. I too have fallen down this trap of I can coach on this. We can, yes, if you're a coach, you absolutely can coach on many things. But when you have so many, when you're spreading yourself so thin, it's very difficult. This is also why I recommend for RAs to actually have a focus, even if they are good at many different things. So you may be good as an RA at doing 800 different things. I know I am. But having a thing that you love that's like your thing helps enormously when it comes to the opportunity to like talk about you, right? Because ultimately, if you're not looking for a job now, you may one day. And having an anchor point for people to talk about related to you is helpful. So for me, for example, mine is efficiency, crisis management. So going back to having to take the week off because I wasn't feeling great, and I've just obviously had like a couple of months on that. The videos that I have on YouTube are all related to if you're someone, and these are how they were built actually. They were built with this in mind because when I was a coach for business owners, the thing that we would run into often, because the business owners that I worked with were all very successful business owners, the challenge that they had was that they were all chronically ill, had PTSD, depression, trauma, various things in their lives that meant that they would have these week periods or 2-week periods where everything would just collapse. And sometimes that can happen no matter, like you can be neurotypical and not chronically ill and then you fall and break your leg, right? And then now you've got to deal with the same shit that someone's going to have to deal with. So I was working with a lot of people on the ramp down. How do you build a consistent schedule and consistent behavior and consistent work habit so that when these things do happen, the crash happens, but you're able to pick up like really quickly. Like, so you're not nervous about how much you missed because you know that your system will carry you through it. So I built the system over the course of 3 or 4 years with, it's funny because as I was building this system, I was like, my God, I was like, this system would work so well for research administrators. Like, I was just like, and this is sort of what happened at the end of my last career is that I mean, I've had many careers. Research administration has been my lifelong career, but I've had a lot of like secondary ones. Was I just so lost interest in it because once I saw how it applied to research administration, which is my one true love, I just didn't even care anymore. I was like, I don't care about business. I don't care about any of this. I just want to do research administration now. Oh, that was good times. Good times. Okay, so, all right. So this week, we're all going to AM 66. I'm going to be arriving on Sunday. And then we're going to, okay, what happens on Sunday? So we're going to be there on Sunday. I'm probably going to chill out. There's a dinner that day. And then I believe we start off the next day. I'm doing stuff on Tuesday and Wednesday. Check out the last couple intents if you want to see what some of the great sessions are that I've pulled out. I have some that I want to like post, but so we're all headed for that. That's, and going to conferences is fun, but there's always that like, oh my God, I'm so tired traveling but okay, fun fact. Syra and I are traveling. I'm ADHDing all over the place. Syra and I are traveling from different places. So Syra lives in New Hampshire. I live in Massachusetts. I'm taking a flight, American Airlines flight from Boston. She's taking an American Airlines flight from Manchester. We both arrive. Syra arrives at 7:49 a.m. I arrive at 7:50 a.m. So we're going to just meet up there. So that's going to be super great. If any of you are coming to AM 66, I don't know who is or who isn't, but let me know. I want to see you. And if you aren't coming to AM 66 and you have someone there that you're like, oh my God, say hello to my friend, blah, make sure that you tell me who that person is so I can say hello. Okay, let me look to see what is... Okay. All right. I just want to come here because I had a list of things to talk about today. Okay. Oh, 9:48. You know, we're already at 9:48, actually. I don't think we can go into another piece of conversation. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do and say instead. What I'm going to do and say instead, because this was actually the more important part of it, is, where the hell did you go? Where is everybody? There I am. There's one and there's two. Okay. There is a video by, not me, it's by someone else. Josh Rosenberg. I posted it. It's on the YouTube channel. I also posted it on my own channel on LinkedIn. I think I could share it on my own YouTube channel, so I can do that too. But I want to recommend that you take a look at the. It's very short. It's like 5 minutes long. Uh, and I admire people who are able to make videos that are 5 minutes long and useful. Like I just cannot stop talking. This is just like it's my lot in life. I start talking, I'm like, and then let me tell you the life story that's going to get you here. But he has a 5 minute video specifically on how to time block, how to draw boundaries around your schedule so that you are maximizing the things that you're able to get done in a given day. He has some incredibly tactical tips about creating flow. They're just really, really good. And the reason why I want to suggest this is because over the last several years of working with people to create efficiency in their workday, whether they're chronically ill or not, there are a few universal truths that if you do them, they will have an outsized impact on every single thing that you do other than that. Like you'll have more time, more breathing room, you'll feel more confident. Like the impact, it's almost like exercise, right? Like exercising, you're gonna feel great. It is literally the impact that it has on you and your body is outsized. Um and That is really, really critical. So check out his video, pick any one of those things and do them. Because if you are someone who has limited spoons and does need to do very similar things to what I need to do and many of my friends need to do, those ideas in and of themselves are small. They don't require a lot of effort. So it's not like it's just one more thing I have to do. It's something you can sort of be like, oh, I can begin this practice immediately, right? So it immediately flows right into, like, it's almost like saying, I'm going to breathe deeply now. Okay, well, I can breathe deeply while I'm doing many other things. So it's part of the practice, right? So that will be enormously helpful. So I definitely recommend checking that out. It's a great video. It's on the NCARA channel, which is for some reason called NCARA 1989, which I don't know. If anybody knows why it's called NCARA 1989, I would really, really love to know. I'm going to ask somebody at NCARA this year at AM 66. I'm like, why do we call it that? Like, what's the story? All right, what is happening with me today? Let's see. Okay, two things. One, if you're not on the Patreon, join the Patreon. We have office hours tomorrow. Office hours is where you or any research administrator can come in and ask any question you want about research administration. So if you need help or support and you're looking for someone to basically just say, okay, this is generally where you want to go, this is generally how you want to think about it, and so on, join me on the Patreon at Manessa.com and we can do that thing. Otherwise, looks like I have a nice empty day today. So for me, I typically have my Tuesdays and Thursdays really packed up with meetings, and Mondays are usually very empty. And because I have had the last couple of weeks that I've had, this is going to give me an opportunity this week to be able to just really just dive in, do a lot of the work that needs to get done. I'm just actually, I just deleted that. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that today. It's me with my sister. It's okay. She knows it's not coming. She already declined it. So I typically do that. So if you need flow time, which most of us do as research administrators, I want to recommend that you go to your calendar today, find something to put some flow time in, give yourself 3 or 4 hours, sit down, buckle down, do the thing. You will feel great at the end of it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for hanging out. I'm going to not be here next week at AM 6. I'm going to be at AM 66. I'm going to be hanging out with Candace Taylor. I'm going to hang out with Tanya. I'm going to hang out with my sister. It's just so many people. Beth Kingsley. Like, a lot of y'all are going to be there. If you're going to be there, let me know. I want to hang out with you too. Otherwise,